Hello and welcome. Greetings from the Offensive Security Group here at Secure IT 360, coming at you with a threat recap. So this is something new that we're going to try and do, and we're hoping that this is going to be a monthly thing. We're going to do a threat recap where we talk about the things that we are researching, tracking, analyzing, all the threats, vulnerabilities, exploits, incidents, breaches, etc. Trying to do this on a monthly basis, keep you up to date on some of the higher profile things that are going on, and to help you know what's relevant and important in the industry, this month. So the goal is to help you be more prepared today than you were yesterday to protect your organizations. So without further ado, this is our November threat recap, and I have with me Victor. Victor, how you doing?
Good. How are you, Spencer?
Good, good. So Victor, why don't we just start real briefly? Tell everybody what you do, what your role is here, and then we'll kind of reuse that for other episodes and kind of let people know that, and then we'll get into the threat recap for this month.
Sure thing. So I'm a cyber threat intelligence analyst for Secure IT 360. I'm pretty much the glue between the OffSec team and their defensive team as well in the SOC. I pretty much stay up to date on weekly threats and just report them to the SOC and the OffSec team as well.
Yeah, and if there's something going on in the cybersecurity world, in the infosec world, if it's a threat, if it's an incident, if it's some exploit or something to know about, Victor is the first resource that usually always knows about it in our group, and he's always publishing information to our clients and sharing that information out there so that we can get actionable information in the form of mitigations, defenses, what to do, what this thing means. So Victor's the first line of defense when it comes to that, and if there's anything going on, he's the one who knows about it. So throughout this threat brief, just to give you a quick rundown, we're going to go through a few stories, talk about them for a few minutes, share what we think is important, what's relevant, pull out some pieces of information that's hopefully helpful for you, the listeners, to take back to your organizations. So Victor, what's the first one that we're going to be talking about?
So let's chat about the recent Okta breach because that's been in the news a lot lately, and I think it's something important to chat up upon. So really briefly, Okta is a company that provides identity tools such as MFA and single sign-on to thousands of businesses. Recently, they suffered a security breach that involved a compromise of one of its customer support units. Ultimately, the threat actors were able to view files uploaded by certain Okta customers as part of recent support cases. So briefly, in this incident, which impacted a few companies such as 1Password, Cloudflare, and I believe BeyondTrust, the breach occurred using a session cookie after a member of the IT team shared a HAR file with customer support. HAR files are JSON formatted archive files for logging for logging of a browser's interaction with a site. They can contain sensitive data, including cookies and session tokens that essentially malicious actors can use to impersonate valid users. In this, the attacker tried to access the IT member's user dashboard, but ultimately it was blocked by Okta. However, they were able to update an existing IDP tied to Okta's production environment. They activated it and requested a report of admin users. Uh, Fortunately, not a whole lot of customers were affected. I saw that only around 1% of Okta's 8,000 customers were hit. But for recommendations, Okta recommends sanitizing all credentials and cookies/session tokens within a HAR file before sharing it. Um, so I would say pretty much companies should be aware of the sensitivity in sharing data with even trusted customers, surface agents as well.
Yeah. And this one's interesting, right? Because we're seeing these cloud providers being attacked more and more. This is not the first time Okta has been in the news, right? They were in the news recently for the MGM breach, where a threat actor, part of the Lapsus group, got access to an admin portal in their Okta console. So these IDPs are a new and prime target for threat actors. And, it's kind of a supply chain nightmare, Victor. It's like you get access to this IDP and you potentially get access to like Cloudflare and Beyond Trust and
Yeah.
1Password and like huge companies. So you think about the scope of this, right? If those systems, those IDPs, don't have those systems locked down, just like a password providers like LastPass, right? If those are not completely locked tight and engineered well, that could be a nightmare for a lot of organizations. So pretty scary stuff in terms of the scope and the magnitude. My takeaway is one, if you have Okta, making sure that you're following least privilege and you're limiting the admins in there is going to be really important. Checking things often to make sure it's configured the way you expect it to be, things like that. And more or less just staying aware that threat actors are targeting these IDP providers, these identity providers, and this is not the last we're going to see of it. There are other providers that that are out there, Microsoft included. So definitely one to be aware of and pay attention to. The last thing I'll say about this is, somewhat interesting that, when 1Password released their information, they shared that their part of their response was to run, malware bytes on the end user's computer, and of course, the information security community had a little bit of fun with that, myself included. Those tools are great. And I think those are good, initial triage tools, but don't rely on those alone, right, to protect your organization. You need a layered defense strategy to really protect things. So what's the next one?
So I would say the Octo Tempest recently, that actually just popped up yesterday, right? Yeah, October 25th.
Yeah, so Octo Tempest, that is a. So I first heard about it from the Microsoft Intelligence briefing, or their threat intelligence briefing report that they sent out, like you said, yesterday. This is a group that is performing ransomware and extortion. And some of the interesting things to me are the social engineering, the SMS phishing techniques that they're using. And one of the things that stands out to me, Victor, with this is kind of the fear mongering that's been involved with this, kind of the threats of like coming to the people's house, kidnapping people, throwing bricks through windows and things like that. This is not unheard of in cybercrime and things like that. But it is interesting to me that we're seeing these threats kind of get a little bit more serious in terms of human life and safety. And so that's pretty interesting to me on this one. But I'll let you share anything else.
Sure, yeah, that's something we see with actually ongoing trends, which I want to segue into. With the year almost nearing to an end, people may be wondering what are some trends to look out for in 2024. Uh, there are a lot of things, but I did want to touch up on some next level phishing attacks because I feel like they that's something to be important. That's something important to be
Yep.
aware of.
Yeah, and real quick before we jump to that, I just want to wrap up the Octo Tempest. So that group is being tied to Black Hat, ALPHV, which is human operated ransomware group. They're targeting ESXi servers. There's a lot of information in the Microsoft article. So if you go and look for Microsoft's Octo Tempest article, there's a lot of really good information there, including the techniques that the threat actors are using, the tools, the procedures that they're using, the TTPs, if you will. So really good information there. The main takeaway is social engineering, SMS phishing, is particularly your IT staff, IT and security providers. We're seeing that with the Okta breaches that are happening. We're seeing that with LastPass. Threat actors are going after developers, engineers, IT people, security people, the people that have privileged access in environments usually. So no longer are they just targeting, Susie in accounting. They're targeting, people who have real access in these organizations. And they're not only phishing their way in and getting access, but they're removing that person's ability to get back in, right? They're removing their authenticators. They're removing or resetting passwords and things like that. So they're becoming more hostile in that way. So a lot of really good information in that Octo Tempest article. But to you, Victor, on trends to look out for the end of the year and into 2024.
Yeah, so yeah, like I was saying, there's a lot of stuff to look out for, but next level phishing attacks are something to be aware of. AI tools such as ChatGPT, it allows attackers to make smarter and more personalized approaches to phishing. Humans are still better than AI at crafting phishing emails, and that's mainly due to the fact that we're better at creating a narrative. But it kind of begs the question for how long? And on that subtopic, deepfake accounts will become more popular in 2024. Threat actors can use it to create hoax images, sounds, and videos. And an example of this is a few years back, a CEO of a UK energy firm was tricked into believing he was speaking to the chief executive of a company in Germany. The deepfake voice impersonated the chief executive and convinced that CEO to transfer about £200,000 to a supposed Hungarian supplier's bank account. So that's something where awareness is your best weapon to combat these attacks. And also, according to statistics, about 66% of cybersecurity professionals have seen deepfakes used as part of a cyber attack. So the response to this will largely revolve around organization-wide awareness and education.
Yeah, and helping your users be aware that this is a thing. This is a trend that's happening. We're seeing threat actors use it. Teaching users how to spot it. What are the red flags? Doing some research and figure out what are the red flags of this. How do you report it? And keeping users up to date is going to be key here with these things. The things that I will mention is kind of things that I'm seeing moving forward are definitely what we mentioned previously, IDPs, right? Victor, Okta, and others are going to be targeted because of this, but also Teams and Slack and overall just chat phishing, right? Chishing, can we coin a new buzzword? Chishing,
Let's
chat
do it.
phishing. But we're seeing Teams, Slack, Discord, things like that. Whatever your organization uses for chat, threat actors are going to find a way to fish through that. SMS phishing, of course, is as old as phones are. I feel like SMS phishing is. So what's old is new again there. Adversary in the middle, where we're getting in the middle of that logon session, stealing those sessions and subverting MFA, and RMM abuse. So remote management tools, remote access tool abuse. That's something that's very highly used by ransomware groups, human operated ransomware groups. So expect that to continue and be looking out for that as well.
Definitely. Yes. A couple weeks ago, the Storm 0324 threat actor group, they targeted corporations via Teams messages. I remember seeing that they used the Teams Fisher tool to deliver phishing attachments. And Spencer, a couple weeks ago, did you actually have some experience with that tool?
I think Darius was messing around with it. We have a social engineering phishing, spear phishing type offering service. And so if that's something that interests you folks, you can learn more about that by contacting us on the website. But yeah, as part of that deployment and that service and that process, we're looking at doing, phishing type Teams phishing, right? Sort of engagements. So that's definitely one tool that's very popular recently. All right, Victor, anything else?
That is pretty much it for me.
Awesome. Cool. Well, hopefully this was informative or educational or brought some awareness to you folks who are listening. If you enjoyed this type of content, please like, subscribe, share the episode on LinkedIn. That would be super appreciative. We'd be super appreciative of that. And as always, you can find us on offsec.blog and at Secure IT 360. And we will see you next month for the next threat recap.